you got a week to work with this kid.
Because I have a problem tapping into my emotions because that's a normal thing for new actors.
Well,
right?
of course, dude. Yeah,
and you just brought that right out of me, and you were yelling at me. I was like, okay, all right, I'll do it. I got it.
I know, and I love. You know
crazy.
what's cool too is we still have that footage of that session.
Yes.
Where you dove in, man,
Yeah.
and you were. I mean, I remember thinking to myself after that session, "Whoa, like this kid, he can do it."
You are Eric Lingwald, and this is the unseen word.
Guest today is Javon Walton. He got the nickname Wanna because when he was a little kid, he wanted to do everything. I want to do this, I want to do that. So he got the nickname Wanna. I'm super stoked to have Wanna on this episode. He is an amazing actor. He is an amazing boxer. He is a gymnast. Some of the projects that he's been working on, he was on Euphoria, one of the most amazing scenes I've ever seen in television, where he closed out the finale episode. He's going to be in an upcoming film called Samaritan with a guy named Sylvester Stallone. He's also going to be in Umbrella Academy. He was recently on a show called Utopia. He was in the Addams Family as the voice of Pugsley. So he's had a busy last few years, but he's an amazing guy, and I'm really stoked for you all to learn about Wanna and his journey.
So we connected because David Rubin, this amazing casting director, was casting Utopia.
Right.
And then you had initially auditioned for Utopia, right? But weren't quite there, weren't quite ready. What was that first audition like? Because obviously you didn't get it.
Right.
What was that like, right? Because you hadn't had that much experience.
So it was a really dynamic character. So it was my first time doing that. 'Cause with Ashtray, it's super monotone. You know, like I'm a drug dealer. It's pretty basic. You just got to be a tough kid, and that's about it. And I had that from the boxing background and all of that. But with Utopia, it was a really dynamic character, and I feel like I did a good job in the audition, but I knew I could have done more because I was so new to this space, and there was little things that I didn't know. And then shortly after that audition, I came to you, and I'm sure you remember that, where we were in the room all the way across.
Yep.
And you were talking to me.
That's funny. You remember which room we were
Yeah,
at here at Catapult.
I remember that room. That was my first day here, and you were talking about me, like, little things I can work on at home, how you should write out your lines. You were talking all about that. And when I started working on these little things, I already noticed a difference. And then when I came back for the audition and we did it, like, I already felt a lot more confident, and I knew that I was starting to progress in this space, which was really cool to see. And knowing that you need that extra little bit of help to really, you know, push you and to get you to that next level. And,
Yeah, well,
you know,
I think a lot of people think about acting, right? And they're like...
people think it's easy.
Right.
People
Because
think it's
it looks easy
Yeah.
when you watch TV, right? It looks effortless, but it's not.
There's so many little things you're thinking about while acting, you know. The way you move your eyes, the way you know, the way you move your mouth when you're talking, you know, like, just everything. Your facial expressions, absolutely everything. Making sure you're not moving too much with your hands. Making sure your legs are still, you know, like, there's little things you got to worry about that don't seem like a big deal, but when you're doing it, it is, you know. And I'm so grateful that I got to learn all this by being on set, because I've got to learn my experiences and becoming a better actor just from acting on set, you know.
Yeah,
that's been my journey.
Yeah, that's a crazy situation.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe 1% of actors learn on a set, right? The other 99, they learn through acting class and auditioning a whole bunch. Because had you auditioned for anything when you booked Euphoria?
No.
Which
No,
is
that was my
which
first
is
audition.
bananas, right?
Yeah.
That's a crazy concept to be thrown onto that set, right? But yeah, with that said, I mean, so coming back to Utopia. So the first time you auditioned, okay, David Rubin saw something in you, right? It's interesting though, right? Because even though the studio passed or whatever, or production did, David Rubin saw something in you. And I think that's a cool component, right? And yeah, shout out to David Rubin, because if it weren't for him, if it weren't for David Rubin, we wouldn't be here.
We would not be here.
And so obviously David saw something in you, right? I've had casting directors reach out and say, hey, but this was different, because David Rubin, in essence, said this. I got this kid. I think he's got something special. He already auditioned for this. They didn't feel like he was ready. Mm-hmm. You got a week to work with this kid.
So I have a problem tapping into my emotions because that's a normal thing for new actors.
Well,
right?
of course, dude. Yeah,
and you just brought that right out of me, and you were yelling at me. I was like, okay, all right, I'll do it. I got it.
I know, and I love. You know
crazy.
what's cool too is we still have that footage of that session.
Yes.
Where you dove in, man,
Yeah.
and you were. I mean, I remember thinking to myself after that session, "Whoa, like this kid, he can do it." Like, I remember thinking in that moment, because obviously you're a tough kid, right? Mm-hmm. You're this boxer. If anyone meets your father, he's
that's a big guy.
Let's just say you wouldn't look at him and be like, I could probably take that guy. Mm-mm. Like, he's the opposite of whatever that statement is.
Because it's not that he's just big, he can box. Too.
Right.
Can
and fight. But see, the component I didn't know about too much yet was your mom, too, who, I remember, I think I sent her a text, or I called her one time. I just said, your family is the type of family that I hope my family becomes. Because you guys have this thing about your family where it's tough. There's no nonsense, but there's a lot of love in your family, too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I admire that, right? And so, and listen, I say this all the time. I give at least 51% of the credit of any kid actor to the parents. Right? So I'll give you 49, I'll give them 51.
That's fair. That's really fair.
But that's a common theme, Yeah.
Because you follow what you're going in the footsteps of your parents, no matter what, good or bad. It's
right.
Like those are your parents. Those are the people you look at for advice and just for who you're trying to be.
Yeah, so, and in acting, right? You're this tough kid, but they need you to be emotional and vulnerable, right?
Right.
What was that like, by the way, for you when we started diving into that? Because I was. No offense, but I was pretty surprised you were able to get that vulnerable.
No, I was young, so I totally get that, and I was so new to it. But man, it felt awkward a little bit, and it was it was weird. I was like, I'm not gonna cry in front of somebody, like that's so weird to me, because you realize that it's a job after a while, and these are just parts of it, and it's part of acting, bringing your emotions out and displaying it on camera. But at first, it was a really weird thing to me, and it was just kind of why would I do that? That sounds so dumb and stupid and stuff like that. Because when you're that young and you're trying to cry, you're like, what's the point? It's it's weird. So I don't know. I was surprised that I could even do it that day.
Yeah, it is weird.
Yeah. No,
you have a grown man screaming at you.
Exactly.
Trying to get you to cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is weird. It's really weird. But you did it, though. And this is, I think this is actually a testament to your family. Because while there is a strength to your family, I think you've learned love, right? I think you've learned love. And that character, with that audition, you had to show a tender side.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thing when you think of a kid like you, this tough kid, plays a, whatever it was, 12-year-old, 11-year-old drug dealer on this intense show. He's this little boxing phenom, right? And now you're in the room with me, and it's all right, now you got to be vulnerable and you got to be tender and cry.
You know what I think acting has helped me done, though, a lot? Is to become more of a dynamic just person in general. It's really helped me be able to control my emotions, first of all. And it's made me, be more of an emotional person in a good way. Because that can be a good thing, It's not just as blank, Because even when I was boxing and all of that, I used to always carry myself as a really tough kid, And I've really just opened myself up. And I've gotten a lot more comfortable just in every aspects of my life. And I love that acting has done that for me.
Yeah, that's such a good point, man. I mean, I really feel like acting, and we talk about it creates better people.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're working with good coaches and a good program, acting really does, I think, create a better individual. So no matter what you do, you have tapped into all these different things, right? So, okay, so let's go back to that, right? So David Rubin reaches out and he goes, yep, I need this. And so, in essence, what he was saying to me, at least this is how I viewed it, I got this kid. I need you to get him to a place in a week where the studio feels good enough in a week to fly him out, right? Because it was Chicago, right? I need you to coach him, tape him, and
Wow.
send in those tapes. And I remember thinking about that, and it felt scary for me a little bit, right?
I mean, I'm sure.
Because usually it's
show in a week.
Yeah, right. And I didn't know who you were. But I will say this, man. You know, recently I was on this podcast, and they were asking me about like raw talent and like what it takes and the it factor and all this stuff, right? But honestly, what I think for you, what allowed us in that week to go from a starting point to a much further away point, right?
Yeah, we got pretty far in a week.
In a week, right? Yeah. What allowed us to do that, I think, was your ability to focus, your work ethic, your drive, your determination. And those components, what's cool about it, they cross over into everything, right?
No doubt. Without the work ethic, you're not going to go anywhere for whatever you do in life. Even if you have the skill set, especially with acting, this is something you have to work on constantly. So it looks like you're improving on every single project. Because if you're not improving, it gets boring to watch somebody after a while. Because there's no new layers to them and there's no new development to them. And, you know, like after a while, that stuff gets tiring to watch.
Yeah.
You got to progress in acting.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, especially too, I think if you're somebody like you who wants to excel,
Right.
right? The last thing you want to see is people talk about this kid who just had this decline or just kind of flattened out. I mean, and I don't even think. I mean, well, it'll be cool when Samaritan comes out for people to see that as well.
Yeah.
But dude, you know, so then we think about Utopia, right? And we get that tape out, and I remember thinking to myself, man, we did it. Like I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if they're going to book him for this. But I remember after that week going, dang, this kid went from just not understanding much about acting
Right. I didn't understand anything.
Right?
I was confused about
Yeah.
the whole thing.
to being an actor where I was like, I am proud of this tape we're sending. Like, I feel like this kid, but it's, again, it comes back to that focus, right? So in terms of boxing and acting, right? What do you think it is about boxing? Because I have my ideas, but what do you think it is about boxing that you've been able to apply to your acting?
My work ethic, for sure. That's number one, no doubt. Because without the work ethic, you're not going to go anywhere. Like I said before, boxing is a huge mental game as well. And that's point two, mental game. You know, you need a great mental game for everything you do. Because if your emotions get the best of you while you're boxing, you already lost the fight. And with acting, if you have one bad tape and you get really upset at yourself, you've messed up all the tapes. You know, because just because one bad tape is not that great and you're worried about them using that one tape, you got to apply yourself for every single tape after that because you can't change the past. You know, you got to work with what you got. And that's what I really translate for boxing and acting is work ethic and the mental game of it. It's a mental game for both, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, you think about it, too. I was thinking about this, actually. So when you're boxing and you're in the ring, right? Which, by the way, at some point I want to get in that ring. So,
Man, you do crazy, though. You got the
I just want to share that. That is way out of my.
rhythm.
But I feel
All
like
right.
I don't want to get punched in the face too much. All right.
Then why do you want to box?
You're
gonna get hit in the face.
Well,
Especially
can we box where I don't get hit in the face?
I don't think there's any boxing where people don't get hit in the face.
Just
I mean,
not-
I can try to find like a Masters League where they don't get hit in the face.
Okay.
I don't know though. I gotta try.
Anyway, it looks exciting. I think there's some. I think I could take a punch. Anyway, whatever. That's a whole nother story. Okay.
With a broken rib, you can take a picture.
So people don't know this right now, but I think I might have a broken rib right now. I think I do. I went snowboarding last weekend.
And he also plays pickleball, guys.
And I
so,
play
you know.
with a broken rib.
Right.
Okay. So in terms of the boxing, when you're in the ring, is it often where people are shouting, or like your coach, which is your dad, right? Is that correct? When you're in the ring, like combinations and stuff.
Not combinations, but we have key things that we'll say, and you know, there's usually a good bit of people around us, so
Okay.
I have to block out all that surrounding and really connect to my dad's voice in that. Because if you're listening to everything else, you're not really in that moment as much. But when you're just connected to that one voice, it really helps and it keeps you in that moment. So we'll have key things like speed is 1-2-1-2, right? And that's coming forward with 1-2, 1-2, which is jab and cross, whatever people call it.
Okay. All right.
But that's how that's what I try to do when I'm in the ring, because it can be tough when you're not really connected to that. And I've had times where it's made me feel so good when when I came back to the corner and my dad has been like, you know what, I had no corrections that round. You did amazing. Like that feels so good to me. Like when he doesn't have to say anything and I'm just in my own space and I'm doing my own thing. Because I've gotten to the point where I kind of know what he wants me to do at this point, and I can kind of just connect with that. Because he's my dad too, of course. So, it's easy to be able to connect to what he wants after him being my coach since I was 4 years old. It's
Well, and see, this is such like everything you just said. If somebody didn't know you were talking about boxing, is literally everything I would say to an actor. So think about it like this. So you were just talking about connecting to his voice, right? So now think about that in terms of a director.
right. You want to connect to their voice.
You want to connect, but another thing though, you don't want to disconnect from where you're at. Right? So
Right.
it's not like you can listen to your dad and be like, hey, what was that, Pops? In the middle of the ring, because you're going to get knocked.
I think I've sparred kids that would turn to the coach and would have their hands and be like, yo, what'd you say? Like it was like
Right.
they'll just back up and be like, yo, what, like that kind of is mad funny.
Right. And so
I used to do that when I was younger.
Right.
Like I'd look for him to see if that was good. Like I'll throw a good one. Like when I was little.
Yeah.
But I've trained myself to trust my own instinct.
and work with him, right?
Right.
And I think that's a great example, though.
It's a 50-50.
Totally. Well, it's just like when an actor's working with a director or an acting coach, I don't want them to check out of where they are. So like if we compare it to the boxing ring, when you're in the boxing ring, I want you to be dialed in and connected with your opponent, right? But simultaneously, I want you to be able to take this information in and apply it in that moment, right?
Right.
So if you think about that, right, with acting, it's actually very similar. When you're getting direction, right, which is the same thing as coaching, right? You got to be able to take that direction, but you got to still connect with your scene partner.
No doubt.
You got to
No
connect
doubt.
with the moment. And that's where I think for you, you got this thing. I got a girl who I work with. Shout out to Ashley Callow. She was a figure skater, like a very high-level figure skater. And there's a similar thing with her when I'm working with her focus, her ability to take direction. And I'm
That's
thinking,
a tough sport, though.
Oh,
You
yeah, right? I mean-
there's a lot of focus with that because if there's so many different ways you can land wrong when you're spinning in the air so quick.
Yeah.
You gotta really focus in on stuff like that.
Totally.
It's a tough sport.
And I think about that focus, and I think about with you as well. And that's where, for me, when I think about, if you were to say, okay, what kind of actor, when an actor comes in to work with me, what type of actor is one who I can believe really will excel? I think it's an actor who has had to perform, which is, whether it's figure skating, whether it's boxing, whatever, right? We can look at it like a performance, right? They've had to perform and at a high level.
Right.
They've had to excel at a high, and what's interesting for me, I think it really is the boxing. It's the boxing at the young age that's going to give you the tools necessary to continually excel.
You can connect it to a lot of different aspects of your life, especially with acting, and it's crazy how those correlate with each other because they're so different, but they're similar in certain things at the same time. It's really cool. It's really cool how that works. I mean, that's kind of with every sport you do at a high level, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let me ask you this. What about acting did you not expect? What are some things that have happened that you didn't expect that have happened? And in particular, maybe some things that have been challenging to overcome or work through?
I would have to say how long it takes to shoot a project. That's number one, and how long you're on set is number two. I mean, those are similar, but you're on set for a minute, and that's kind of like the basics, but how many layers it takes to really become a good actor and how deep down you have to dig to really believe that it's true and it's a good scene.
But so when you say to believe it's true when you're acting.
Okay, so to believe it's true when you're acting, when you're playing a character, you can't fake any of it. It all has to feel super, super natural. And a lot of that is you, because people try to tap into a different character and think about this, but you're that character. And you really have to dig deep down with that, and you have to feel that moment. Even when you're doing auditions, you have to picture in your mind that the space you're in is a whole acting studio. I mean, is a whole acting set, right? And you have the whole set around you, and you're in that moment. So you got to translate that when you're actually on set to really believe you're in that moment. The people you're with at that time is really happening. And this is like some crazy thing you guys are doing, and it will feel real. It will feel super real. And that's something you really got to find.
Yeah, that's such a good, so often I think people talk about acting and they think it's pretending, right?
No, there's no pretending. And even visualizing, everything about what you're doing. So, okay, I'm on set right now. I'm feeling that I'm doing da 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 da, and it's like that thing. So you start to create a story around you, which is the character, and that really helps to bring it to life too.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so in terms of the challenges you faced, was there anything in particular where you felt like, in the journey so far with acting, where you felt like you failed? Where you had to overcome a specific instance that was really challenging, that you felt like you could have, and what maybe you learned from it?
So I had a time on Samaritan where I worked 59 out of the 61 days, so it was a lot,
Tell people just so they know what Samaritan is, in case. So, what is Samaritan?
So Samaritan is like almost a superhero type of movie, but like with a dark twist to it, and it will be a super cool thing for like comic fans and stuff like that. But it's like a new twist of superhero movies, and it's with me and Sly. Me and him are the stars of it.
Sly Stallone, for people that
Sylvester
don't know who Sly is.
Guy who played in Rockies and all that. So,
I've heard of him.
Yeah. No, I'm just letting other people know.
I know.
I don't know if there's little kids.
Yeah. But that was a crazy experience as a
Right.
whole, anyway, right? To be
No doubt.
the co-lead in essence with him. Yeah.
So I remember one time on set, I got it down eventually, but I would have emotionally draining weeks where I would have, really intense scenes, and then I would have a really action scene, and then I'd have a crying scene, and then in that week I had a really big monologue, and I was like, oh my God, like, how am I gonna remember this in a night? And I didn't trust myself in that moment that I could deliver it. And when you don't trust yourself, it's not ever gonna come out properly, because usually I'm like, I need 2 to 3 days to really focus on this monologue and focus on it, because when you're on set, they expect you to know it every single night, even if it's a lot of dialogue. And for the first few times, I wasn't able to deliver exactly how I wanted because I didn't trust myself, and I wasn't confident in my performance because I didn't fully have it down.
Talk about that. What did that feel like, right? Because it's a lot of pressure.
It was, and it was
Like,
a really big scene with a lot of people there too.
So how are you feeling in that, knowing that, like, because you're going through it, right? You're not trusting yourself.
Yeah.
You're not delivering the level you would like to be delivering, right? So in essence, failures, but you're failing in that moment, right?
In that moment, yeah.
So what's that feeling like for you in that?
Well, my nerves were high, which was number one, the problem. And overall, like, emotionally, like, I was telling myself I can't do it in that moment in time. And it was really fatiguing me and frustrating me. And then I was emotionally out of bounds, and that was another problem. So I had to take a second on set. I had to really tap into what I know and what I learned from you. And once I did that, I started to feel a little more confident, because it's not always about the dialogue. It's about how you deliver it. Mm-hmm. So you can make it feel 100% real without knowing the whole script.
Yeah.
And it's about the energy you bring to those lines. And I was able to do that pretty well, I feel like. And I was able to make a recovery. Mm-hmm. But now I know that you can't think you can't do it. There's always ways around it.
Right.
And there's always things you can do to boost your confidence.
Yeah.
And fix that and, change that moment. And not to get in your head so much about certain things. Because at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. And that's the thing I got to remember when it comes to certain things like that. Because I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And those things really get to me sometimes.
Yeah.
So I got to find things, and I got to tap into my own space and let go of everything else around me so I can stay grounded and get back to where I want to be. And that's important to me.
Dude, that's such a great, oh man, that's such a great component of it all, that trust, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you said too, you said something, what did you say? I can't think that I can't do it.
Yeah.
I love that. I just like that sentence, right? I can't think that I can't do it. Because when you are thinking you can't do it, you're creating the experience of not being able to do it, right?
Right.
You're literally setting yourself up to fail in that
You
moment.
said because it's like deja vu without deja vu.
Right.
You know, because
Right.
you're visualizing in your head that you're set up to fail. And even with boxing, I've had a dream before big national tournaments that I would lose. And I keep replaying that in my head, and eventually you'll lose because of that. And you'll blink out right before the fight or whatever is happening, and you won't be able to perform your absolute best. And what I learned, somebody actually taught me this pretty recently, is if you visualize and, flip the script, it really helps. So if you go back into that thought of you losing, and you're going into every deep moment of that, the before fight when you're wrapping up, before the scene when you are preparing for your monologue, when you go back into that state and you're thinking of every little component and you're flipping the script to believing you're winning and believing you're doing what you're trying to do and accomplishing what you want to accomplish, it will all come naturally. And then you'll flip the script to make it, be that you're winning.
Right.
And that's the goal. You can never have that mindset because your mind doesn't mean to do it. It plays tricks on you.
Right.
You just think of the worst, and you got to flip that.
Yeah, man. The mind game, I think that's so good, dude. Because it's like, if you think about these things, obviously there's a physical toll, right? There's
For
a
sure,
physical
yeah.
toll with boxing, physical toll with acting as well. But I think what you said is so important in terms of trust, right? So at Catapult, we've got these core values, right?
Right.
Trust is number one.
Right.
Number one, right? Like when a guy like David Rubin reaches out to me, he's trusting me to help you help him basically be correct in what he wants, right? It's trust, right? And trust is everything. Trust is everything, right? And I think that's what's so important is that you looked at that situation and you went, okay, it wasn't so much that I didn't memorize a monologue or couldn't. It was that I didn't trust.
That's key.
I didn't trust myself, and in turn, it all falls apart.
Right.
So Henry Ford quote, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And I love that idea where, you know what it does there? It says, okay, if Juana's going to crush this scene, if Juana's going to get into that ring and do what he does, it is solely up to him. Because it's all here. It's not about what happened to me. It's not about complaining about circumstances, right? A day to learn a monologue or whatever it is.
Or you have a day left to cut 3 pounds, it's not about the circumstances at all.
It's about the way you see it.
Exactly.
It's about the story you tell yourself, right? And I think that's so cool, man. It's such a cool thing, that you have all of this happening, right? Okay, so Utopia happens. You end up booking that, right? Samaritan. What else we got? We got
Umbrella Academy.
Umbrella Academy, which is going to be so cool. When does that come out?
That comes out, man. When does that come out? I think around June or so.
Okay, got it.
That's coming up pretty soon.
So you got all these. So you got all these cool projects that are coming up.
And then we did Adam's Family in the middle of.
Oh yeah, an Adam's Family.
Cool.
Yeah, well that was cool.
That was
right because I got to.
It was like 4 or 5 days of work. It was super chill.
Right, so you played Pugsley, and I actually brought my 4-year-old at the time and 2-year-old, and I showed them, and I said, hey, that's Daddy's student. And they were trying to understand, because they're like, but he's a cartoon. You work with cartoons? I'm like, well, sometimes, right? And so that was pretty cool.
Voice acting is definitely something interesting, though.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, though.
Yeah.
I remember even doing one of the sessions in my basement, and we had to put blankets up to create our own little booth. And then the guy came and said, "Oh, it was cool to be able to do it in my basement, though."
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun doing the voiceover stuff. It's
yeah.
tiring on your voice because it's a lot of screaming and little things like that because you can't pick up the emotions on your face and all that, so it's a lot of interesting things you gotta do.
Yeah, my guess is my guess is that you probably wouldn't have expected to be the voice of Pugsley when you first started getting into acting.
No, I wouldn't. It's been a short but crazy journey so far.
Yeah.
I've been blessed for everything I've gotten, and I think a lot of that has been the work that I've put in. A lot of it is.
Well, and this is the thing for you. While you have achieved a lot of success in a short period of time, and while I think confidence is key, I also think being humble is essential. And I think as a boxer, that's another attribute, right? My guess is you get humbled every now and again in the boxing ring.
Yeah.
Your face there was good. It made me feel like you were thinking about.
I mean, you'll be in a fight and be like, all right, this is all me. I got this round on my belt, won that round. I know it for sure. And then this guy will turn up on you, or you'll step in the ring and be like, okay, I got this 10-time national champion, and I really gotta get in my zone because I know it's gonna be tough. You gotta prepare for stuff like that because it can get tough depending on the competition.
And I think that for you though is one of the best gifts that boxing has given you, is the fact that you are going to get humbled every now and again.
No doubt. And karma's a real thing, bro. Like, I know people say sometimes it's not, but it really is, So if you're really cocky, you're like, this guy's going to be horrible. Like, I got him all day. Like, it's going to come after you.
Yeah.
Right. You could be better than that person, but, that 1 out of 10 shot, they're going to take it.
Yeah.
With karma.
No, I believe in it too, man. And I also think that when you're being humble, you're respecting the craft.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're like, this craft, whether it's boxing or acting, is so much more than any one of us, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're humble with it, it is a respect to the thing that you're doing, not just to the individuals who you're doing it with. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Dude, so this is crazy with Euphoria, right? I mean, this blew up, okay?
Yeah. I thought first season blew up, but like this
has been bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been crazy for you, right? And I'm sure a lot of people will ask you questions about it, whatever. But my thing with it, right? I'm curious for you in terms of it all blowing up, right? What about that do you feel like you're learning the most? Like, what are the lessons you're learning in the midst of this, right? Because every week it's got to be like a little bit different, right? I mean, over the last month, 2 months, right? Or well, let's see, the finale came out. How long ago was it?
Finale came out in February.
Okay,
yeah.
so that finale, and that changed it a little bit for you, huh?
Yeah. It's been really cool to see how many supporters there are on Euphoria, and it's been interesting at the same time because it's like my first time, like, really in that space and realizing what all that's like. And I'm blessed for what I have and what I've gotten from all this, but it is overwhelming at times too, because it's also a big mental game with all of that too.
Talk about that. What do you mean?
You gotta stay grounded with it all. You have to go back to what you do, and I'm glad that I live in Georgia because it's a really chill area. But you have to stay grounded, and you have to humble yourself. You have to realize that you have to be grateful for everything you have at the same time, but you have to stay grounded, and you have to be humble, and those are really, really important. And that's why I like going to hang out with my friends that is on like 200 acres that doesn't care what I do, because when we're there, we just have fun and we chill out. And I love hanging out with people like that have been day ones that are just there for me. I love that.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I mean, I think that's a great way to look at it too. It's just understanding that you got to come back to what really matters, right?
Right.
And I think that's a cool thing too. It's never felt to me like you were doing this so you could get 5 million followers or get like whatever, the accolades that come with acting. Mm-hmm. It's always felt to me like you look at acting maybe similar to the way you look at boxing.
Because I love it.
Yes. And you want to just keep getting better.
Kind of like how you look at what you do in this acting space, You're so passionate about it and you love it and you have the drive. to get better at what you do and to better everyone else around you. And I love that about you, because there's people that do their jobs and they don't care. You know, they're doing it to get through the day, but you're passionate and you love everything you do when it comes to this space. I mean, even pickleball. When you're playing pickleball, you love it. Man,
I love that you brought up pickleball twice.
You're bleeding on your rack and you're grinding. I remember that. You're like, I got blood on this rack because I got a cut and I knew I had to finish this game out and I knew I was going to do amazing and this is going to be the best game I've ever had.
It was
the best game you had because you had the right mindset and you're passionate about whatever you do. It can be pickleball, it can be acting, it can be family. Whatever you're doing, you're passionate about, and I love that.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Yeah. Well, listen, it takes one to know one in terms of that, and you know, I love seeing everything that's happening for you. I'm so proud of you, dude. And
I appreciate you.
This is the first time this ever happened. So your mom was like, did you see the finale of Euphoria? I hadn't seen it, and so she sends me it, right? Mm-hmm. And remember, I called you soon after that, and I was just sitting out in my backyard. And I was barbecuing, right? And so I had this time, and I look, and Jessica just sends it, and I see the link, and I was like, oh, all right, let me watch. And so I'm watching you, and I get emotional. I was straight up emotional watching what you did, man, because I knew the work that went into that, because I got to see it. And, you know, people don't get to see that. They don't get to see all of the hours.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. And it's not so much how long have you been doing something. It's about what you do with the time you have. And you have been able to focus that, right? Because you could take two people and one over 6 months might be as efficient as the other one is over 1 month. So it's not so much about a bunch of work. It's about efficiency. And man, I just remember watching that. I mean, God, I mean, that scene, there's a reason that's gone crazy viral. I mean, there's a reason. It's beyond, you know, it was a special moment in terms of in TV history, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a special moment. And what I can tell you is this, man. When I watched that and I finished it, right? So I finished watching it, right? And I'm literally sitting there. I got my apron because I rock an apron when I do my barbecuing, right?
You got your little apron.
Oh, I got an apron. Yeah, I got 2 aprons, dude. So I'm watching it, and I finished watching it, right? And I remember just finishing that clip and just sitting there going, dude, this is a game changer, man. That scene for you, man, because people get opportunities. You know, people always like, I just want an opportunity. I just want a chance. Yeah, whatever, dude. What are you going to do with it?
What are you going to do with that chance?
What are you going to do with that opportunity? And man, you knocked it out of the park. And I remember...
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
That means a lot.
Well, it's true. And I remember, you know, I called your mom, right? And I remember being on the phone.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and I'm like... I was speechless, and which is a rarity for me, right? I was literally, I just go, Jessica. And I didn't even know what to, because, dude, I was, you know, I was proud, but more importantly, I was satisfied. Because I was like, dude, the hard work, the stuff that I've been able to see in the room, now everybody gets to see it. And that was a cool moment, man. And getting on the phone with you and talking with you about it, you know, it's one of those things as a coach, when you get to see that, you go, yeah, man, that's what it's about. But, dude, tell you what, probably wrapping up. I don't know if there's, I think that's about it.
We covered a good bit. That was a lot of fun talking, though. I really enjoyed that.
Man.
It was cool to be able to dig more deep into it, because I love doing interviews with people, but we don't get to dig deep into certain things, and when we're going into like that mental game, it's really cool.
Yeah, man.
It's really, really cool.
It's great, man. Well, all right. That's a wrap. Javon, Juana, thank you, man. Thank you, man.
Of course.
Thank you, yeah.
Glad to do it.
Man, onward and upward. All right, man. Thank you, man.
Yeah, man, of course.
All right. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you so much for joining us on The Unseen Work. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. If you want to learn a little bit more about The Unseen Work, follow us on Instagram at The Unseen Work, and that is UNSCENE.